Measured, solemn, music begins and fades to background. So let's set the scene. It's the 1st century BCE, and Judea is basically a pressure cooker. The ruling dynasty has been tearing itself apart for decades in a brutal civil war, creating this huge power vacuum. And you know what happens when there's a vacuum, right? A bigger power always rushes in to fill it. In this case, that power was the Roman Republic. This is the story of how Rome's imposing hand wouldn't just crush a rebellion, but completely reshape a nation's destiny.
And at the center of our story is one particular Roman general, Aulus Gabinius. He gets sent to Syria as governor and finds Judea in total chaos. See, Alexander, the son of the king they just kicked out, had escaped and started a revolt. Now this wasn't just some local spad. Oh no, this was a direct challenge to Roman authority. And Gabinius? Well, he was about to show everyone exactly how Rome responds to a challenge.
To defy Rome, you're going to need a serious base of operations. And Alexander, he chose a powerful one, Alexandrium. This place was way more than just a castle. It was a defiant statement literally carved into a mountainside. It was one of those key fortresses that just screamed strength and independence for the Hasmonian dynasty. And it's from here that Alexander gathered his army, ready to take back his family's power.
This next part is just classic Roman playbook. Before unleashing the legions, Gabinius tried diplomacy. He actually sent messengers promising a full pardon to Alexander and all his followers. All they had to do was lay down their arms. But Alexander, feeling pretty confident up in his fortress, he refused. He wouldn't even talk. So the lines were drawn. There was going to be no negotiation, only battle.
And let me tell you, the battle was swift and it was brutal. The historian Josephus tells us that Alexander's forces, even though they had the numbers, were just no match for the disciplined Roman legions. These legions were under the command of Marcus Antonius, and yes, that is the Mark Antony you're thinking of. In one single fight near Jerusalem, 6,000 of Alexander's men were lost. His army was shattered. The young prince fled back to his fortress, but really, the rebellion was over.
You can just feel the reality of Roman power crashing down on him. From the walls of his besieged fortress, Alexander sent messengers to Gabinius. All that defiance was gone. Now, it was just desperation. He begged for forgiveness and surrendered not only Alexandrium, but the last 2 Hasmonian strongholds, Hyrcanium and Machaerus. This wasn't just losing a battle. This was a complete and utter capitulation.
And this is where things get really interesting. It's just a brilliant political move. Alexander's mother, who was right there in the camp, she goes to Gabinius personally, and she persuades him to demolish the fortresses completely. Now, the reason she gave was to prevent future rebellions, but her real motive? She was trying to get on Rome's good side, hoping they'd show some mercy to her husband and her other kids who were still prisoners back in Rome. She literally sacrificed the symbols of her family's power to try and save her family.
So, with the military threat gone and the fortresses being torn down, Gabinius turns to what you might call political engineering. See, he didn't just want to end a war, he wanted to end the very system that had caused it. He put in place this radical reform, one that would change the face of Judean government forever.
Gabinius didn't just win a war, he dismantled an entire kingdom. He got rid of the monarchy and split Judea into 5 new districts, with capitals in places like Jerusalem and Jericho. Each district would be governed by its own local council and aristocracy. I mean, this is the classic divide and rule strategy. By breaking up the power, he made it almost impossible for any one leader to unite the nation against Rome ever again.
And here is the truly fascinating part. According to Josephus, the people actually welcomed this change. Think about it. After years of being caught in the middle of these bloody civil wars between their own kings, being governed by local councils must have felt like a huge relief. For a brief moment, it probably seemed like Roman intervention had brought liberation, not subjugation. But that moment wasn't going to last.
Just when you think things are finally settling down, the old order comes roaring back. Aristobulus, the former king, the father of the guy they just defeated, he manages to escape from his prison in Rome. He makes his way all the way back to Judea, and he is determined to reclaim his throne and defy this new Roman reality.
Now this number, 8,000, that is staggering. It just shows you how many people were, as Josephus puts it, desirous of a change. So much for the new aristocracy being popular, right? 8,000 men quickly rallied to their former king's banner. This wasn't some small group of loyalists. This was a major uprising. The new Roman order was about to face its first and most serious test. His campaign was just a whirlwind of pure desperation. First, he tried to refortify Alexandrium, the very symbol his daughter-in-law had convinced the Romans to destroy. But the Romans were on him way too fast. He had to fall back to another ruin, Machaerus, and make a final stand with his best soldiers. It was a final, hopeless gamble.
And the result? Well, it was another massacre. 5,000 of his followers were cut down. The rest were scattered. The Romans had proved, once again, that passion and numbers were absolutely no match for their military machine. The price for challenging their new order was paid in blood.
It's really a tragic end. Even after the main battle was lost, Aristobulus held out in those ruins for 2 days, clinging to this tiny hope that he could somehow regroup. But there was no escape. The Romans closed in and he was captured. His war was well and truly over.
So now, with Aristobulus and his son Antigonus prisoners, the fate of the last of this Hasmonean royal line was once again completely in the hands of Rome. And this time, you can bet there would be no escape.
But then Rome does something very, very calculated. The Senate ordered Aristobulus locked away for good, but they released his children. Now, why would they do that? Because Gabinius had made a promise to their mother, the woman who helped him dismantle the fortresses. And Rome, it seems, always honored a politically useful deal.
And that leaves us with this final crucial question. In freeing the next generation of Hasmoneans, was Rome showing mercy? Was it just fulfilling a strategic promise they'd made to a political ally? Or, by returning the sons of a rebel king to a land that had just bled for him, was Rome simply planting the seeds for the next inevitable war? The cycle of order and rebellion, it was far from finished.